Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be painting Wolverine. This is not going to be Wolverine just kind of in his street clothes. He is going to be in his full suit. This model I picked up from Sanix. If you're unfamiliar with Sanix, be sure to check him out. I'll leave a link in the description to his site. He makes a lot of really good models, very detailed models, so make sure you check him out. Of course, after we get done printing these, they always come out gray. Make sure that you go back with a sander and kind of do the best you can and sand as much as you can in terms of the scar marks for the supports. Those kind of get brought out a lot more by the paint. So just do the best you can. Sand those down. I promise you it'll look a lot better if you can do that. So these are the colors that I'm going to be using today. I have yellow, light umber, and then dark gray. The dark gray and brown are going to go pretty well together. They're going to create a lot of high contrast in the brown areas. Like I said, this model is very detailed, so you want to kind of capture that with your paint. If you can paint a base layer that is dark, and you want like a high contrast, kind of a grunty looking dirty model, then you can, the darker you go and the lighter you go in between the two colors, the more it's gonna, more contrast you're gonna get out of it. So I kind of like the way that that looks. I'm gonna do the dark on the brown first. That's gonna be the base coat, and then I'm gonna come back and dry brush this light umber on top. It may take a little bit of playing around to figure out just how much paint you need to have on the brush. I typically kind of dab my paint in there, brush it a few times on my palette, and then if I still feel like it's too much, I'll grab a paper towel and just kind of scrub it on the paper towel a little bit until the paper towel kind of starts picking up those top layers of the paper towel. You can try that. And then once you feel like you have enough, then you should get this effect where you have like the high points are going to be hit with that light brown, and then the bottom points are going to still be that dark gray color. Now I will admit for the yellow, I had a hard time with this yellow, I'm not going to lie. So I think I started out trying to do brown on the bottom and then yellow on top, but because yellow is such a transparent color, it kind of started to turn it green, which is not what I was going for. So I ended up then switching to white to see if I could paint yellow on top of that, and it looked better. That also didn't work. So I painted back over that and ended up painting in this kind of lighter orange, I believe. Well, it was more of a kind of a mustardy yellow, like a brown yellow, more than it was orange, I would say. And then I used the yellow on top of that, and that ended up being perfect for me. The moral of this story is don't be afraid to paint something on the model because you can always paint over it if you don't like the way it looks. Just make sure that your coats are like pretty thin because you don't want to build up a ton of paint and then stuff kind of starts, especially if it's not fully dry. Make sure it's fully dry when you dry brush because you can strip off that base layer and then you got dry paint chunks and everything. It just ends up being a mess. So make sure that it's completely dry. So for the skin tones, I pretty much use the same color for every skin tone that I use on every model. In Pro Acryl, which is the paint that I use, they use a paint called Tan Flesh. I use that, and I just kind of do a base coat. I used to do highlights and I used to do shadows, but then I kind of got lazy. If you want to do that, I would highly suggest using kind of reds for your highlights and then your blues for your shadows. And when it comes to skin tones, there are some people out there that are super good at skin color and being able to paint that. I am not that great at being able to paint skin tones, so I just use the regular tan flesh for this, and it works pretty well for me. So next we're going to move on to the blue portion of his suit. Sanix did a really good job at being able to capture this suit because the yellow and the blue, the contrast between the two, worked extremely well. Now, Pro Acryl uses a blue gray. I use that as the base coat here. You probably could have gotten away with doing something a little bit darker and with a little bit more contrast, but this actually worked out pretty well. I think in hindsight I might have gone a little bit darker though. And then I have, let's see what color it is here. It's just called blue. All right. So then there's another color called blue by Pro Acryl, and then I use that as the dry brushing on the top of the blues. Again, Sanix did a really good job at designing this model, so make sure you check them out in the description. Pick yourself up this model and paint it along with me. So one part that I didn't record, but you'll see here, are all these little silver dots. I just used a silver metallic paint for this. If it had a dark coat already, such as the brown or the blue, then I didn't go to the effort of actually painting every dot black before I put on the metallic color. However, on the yellows, those are a bit light, so metallic typically does better with a darker undercoat. So I went ahead and painted those black first and then put the metallic on top. Go ahead and prepare yourself to have a lot of patience during this paint because this part took a lot of patience and a lot of effort, very meticulous. Every time I made a mistake, a lot of times would have to go back and repaint it and, cover up that mistake. So no worries about that. You're going to make mistakes when you paint. The beauty of painting, though, is that you can just paint over them and nobody has to know. So if you've made it this far in the video, you're actually doing really great because going forward, we're going to be using pretty much the same techniques for every other part of this model, except for maybe the face. But the gloves here, the forearm armor, all that is, the same techniques that we did for the body. And then later when we get in the pants and stuff, all that's going to be yellow. It's all going to be the same. We're going to just keep on doing it. The blue boots are the same way that we do every other blue. So you're doing great if you've made it this far and you know what you're doing. You're in a good spot. But I'll keep kind of explaining things that I'm doing here. With these claws, same thing that I mentioned earlier about those silver dots. You're going to want to paint those black first just because the metallic is going to show up better. I haven't really figured out a good kind of mirror type paint that's at least reasonably affordable. I think Mirror is actually a paint. I think that's the name brand. But I want to say it's like $30 for one bottle, which just is that's too much. I paid for the base set, which came with like probably 30 colors, maybe more actually, for like $100 from Pro Acryl. And those paints are fantastic. I'll leave those linked in the description if you'd like to pick you up some of those paints because the pigment on them is just super good. And then I actually 3D printed it. Maybe I ought to show that sometime. I 3D printed this like holder for all my paints that I found online, and it works phenomenal. It holds them upside down so that you always have the paint kind of close to the end, and then it also, you're able to see which color's what from the bottom. So I don't know, maybe I'll show that some other time, but let's stay focused here. Alright, moving on to the most important part of every 3D model, which is the head. Now, I say that this is the most important part, but really it's the eyes that are the most important part. Unfortunately, on this model, the eyes were so small that it was really hard for me to capture it, on video, what I'm doing. If you want a good idea, maybe I'll make a video on, just doing eyes, because you could have a phenomenal looking model, but if you have your eyes slightly off or they don't look normal at all, then it can throw off your entire print. So if anything, if you're gonna be good at anything, or if you need work on anything, make sure that you know how to do eyes at least pretty well, because and they're hard. Don't get me wrong; they take a very steady hand, making sure that you get them centered. But kind of over the years of painting 3D models, I've kind of gotten a lot of practice at being able to paint eyes. So I'll give you guys some techniques that I've kind of learned over the years, maybe in the next video, just because I didn't record eyes on this one. But yeah, they are very important. However, this particular model, in hindsight, I think I kind of messed up on the teeth. Um, I probably should have painted them kind of a light gray, maybe even a dark gray. I don't know. And then dry brushed over the top so that you could see each individual tooth. But instead, because they're so tiny, I think I got a little carried away and just kind of brushed them all an ivory color. The tan or the flesh here, I just used the same tan flesh that we've used for his arms. And then blue and the yellow, you should be used to this part by now. We've done it a couple different times. Same techniques, just keep using that. And then the inside of his mouth, I mainly used kind of like a darker burgundy red. And then I painted the top of his tongue like a reddish pink. Honestly, not many people are going to be looking inside of Wolverine's mouth. At least I hope not. That's kind of weird. But the facial hair, excuse me, the facial hair here turned out super great. I actually just dry brushed on the light umber. I did that on his facial hair as well as the hair on his arm. That was kind of raised up a little bit. So be sure to do that because it adds a ton of detail. And again, the beauty of dry brushing on that facial hair is if you mess up, and this is kind of the beauty of using just the tan flesh and already having your skin tones made up, is that you can just paint over with the tan flesh and everything's reset for you to try again. All right, we are rapidly approaching the 15-minute mark, so I'm actually going to kind of speed through the pants, especially because, like I said, the technique is going to be the same that you use for the body. The yellow, use that mustard yellow as the base coat, and then use the golden yellow as the dry brushing part. And then the blue, same way, dark gray blue for the base coat, and then just blue for the dry brush, and then for the brown, the dark gray, and then the light umber. Again, use that silver paint. Be patient. There's a lot of dots to be added silver paint on this. I actually thought about going back and painting each individual thread on his suit a different color, but to save myself from pulling my hair out, I decided against that. But it would have looked super cool. Maybe I don't know, part of me has thought about maybe going back to some of my older models that I still have that I haven't sold, and maybe making a video on like how to add more detail, like see how I can add more and more detail to make it more and more realistic. Because sometimes I find that I get to a model close to completion and I just want to finish it. I'm not really looking to put any more time into it at the moment. And in some ways, I think that it's important to listen to that, uh, because if you're rushing through it, you know, obviously you're not going to be putting out your best work. So you want to make sure that you put out your best work. So if you are finding yourself wanting to go do something else and not paint the model, then just go do it. I mean, go scratch that itch, and then you can come back and try again. And usually you're in a lot better headspace to be able to paint. When you're painting and you're enjoying it, you're gonna want to put more detail into it and everything. But if it seems like a chore, then maybe set it down and come back to it another time. Um, but yeah, maybe let me know if you guys are interested in videos like that where I kind of take older models and see what ways I can add more detail. Maybe like add blood to the model, or add mud on his shoes. I don't know. There's plenty of details that can be added in post. Uh, but maybe let me know if you guys are interested in something like that. Another video idea I've kind of been throwing around is I don't just do resin 3D printing. I do other 3D printing as well, um, with an FDM printer using PLA. And honestly, you could probably hear it in the background right now going. But maybe if you guys are interested in doing, like, learning about some of that stuff, maybe I'll start making some videos on that. But let me know. Usually, all of my bases have some PLA in them, depending on the base, uh, because the build volume on that printer is a lot bigger than the one on my resin printer. So anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys are interested in those videos. Maybe we can try doing something like that. Well, that's going to do it for this video. Stay tuned. I'm going to be doing, I believe the next video is actually going to be Jeff the Land Shark. And if you are interested in buying any of my paint jobs or anything like that, I do have a recently opened Etsy shop. That's going to have my resin 3D printed statues for sale there, as well as the PLA stuff that I make. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in buying anything. And leave me some comments. Let me know what you guys think, ways to improve. I'm open to anything. So, yeah. Anyways, have a great day, and we'll see you next time, guys.